Today, I'm going to be talking a little bit about fire. Don't get me wrong, I love a good bushcraft video as much as anybody else. I watch them maniacally on YouTube all the time, all the time. Don't have any fault with it. There are a lot of guys that are seriously into bushcraft and overall outdoor survival. That's just not me right now, anyway. Cicadas are really loud right now. Is it good to know how to make a bow drill and start a fire that way, or any other kind of friction fire? Is it good to know how to make a fire with a AA battery and a chewing gum wrapper or a piece of steel wool? Yes. Is it good to know how to make a fire with these glasses and a drop of water, or a plastic water bottle, or polishing up the tail end of a tin can, a drink can, something like that? Yes, again, absolutely. Good to know. All these methods are based on very real-world circumstances that you might find yourself in, and a lot have to do with found items or items that you might have on hand, assuming that you don't have a simple and easy way to make a fire. I would say that there's a lot of gray area between having a steel and flint and nothing else, and maybe having a blowtorch and a gallon of gasoline with you to easily start a fire. I mean, let's face it, your average slob like me is probably just going to be car camping, tent camping, a little bit of backpacking, maybe some kayak camping. You want to be conservative with what all you bring to start a fire, but at the same time, you're not in full-blown survival mode. So I'm just going to show you what I take when I go tent or kayak camping. It's relatively lightweight, minimal, and it has served me well. I haven't had any problems being able to start a fire under either wet or dry conditions. When I go out camping or kayak camping, I basically take two bundles of things with me, and both of those encompass some means of making fire. First thing that I take is a small kind of essentials emergency bag. So a roll of duct tape, cotton cloth, a little pouch for fire essentials, first aid kit. What else do I keep in here? A couple of means of purification for water. Have a Sawyer Mini and also some water tablets in there. And an emergency blanket and a little bit of cordage. All this stuff goes to the wayside. Repack it up. Today we're just talking about fire. So in this little bag, let me pop it open. I carry some homemade fire starters. I'll show you how to make those. I carry a lighter, Bic lighter, standard Bic lighter, wrapped in duct tape. Duct tape does burn, also useful for 100 other things. And take the child safety cap off of the lighter flint so that you can easily light it. Plus, if it gets wet, it'll dry out a whole lot faster without that child safety guard on there. So means number one of making fire, Bic lighter. Simple, easy. You also carry some zip fire starting briquettes. You can use a single briquette also as a source of fuel if you just want to heat up some water and you don't actually want to build a little fire. I also carry an alcohol stove with me as well. So homemade fire starter, zip briquettes, and then also some of these Earth eco-friendly, it's like compressed cardboard kind of little cubes, something like that. If you need a little bit of kindling or something, that'll help you out. So means number one, Bic lighter, the obvious. The second thing that I carry with me, kind of a universal tool, I take this Camelus carnivore backcountry knife, machete. It's pretty sizable. Anyway, here's the knife. I'll use this oftentimes for simple batoning of small wood. It does have a saw blade on the back of it, and I would imagine if you're overrun by Bigfoot or something like that, might afford you some personal protection. That's not really about making fire, but also helps to make a fire if you're batoning some wood or processing some wood. Along with this comes a small knife mounted on there, little utility knife. Also carry a small portable chainsaw. This is a pocket saw. All of these items relatively inexpensive from Amazon, but I have used this actually on occasion. I wouldn't want to saw through something larger than maybe a couple of inches, but definitely a lot faster than chopping away or sawing with the back of your blade. Now on to the fire part. So I do carry these homemade fire starters in this little pouch, and then I also carry a magnesium and ferro rod. These are, again, items just from Amazon. I don't recommend any particular brand. I don't think that you need a massive ferro rod to bring with you. This one has served me probably for, I don't know, 8-10 trips, and it might have been $4. Very easy to light a fire with this. Does require a little bit of practice. So this and this I carry with me as fire starting method number 2. This is the backup, or sometimes the primary, depending on what I have at hand. But yeah, these little cotton wax and paraffin impregnated cotton cleaning pads, or facial cleaning pads. These actually are amazing when you go to use them, and so I carry them with me all the time. If you're using a magnesium strip and ferro rod, you won't want to use this for the first time when you're in a bad situation. Practice. It seems simple, like everybody does it on YouTube, everybody does it right in front of you as a demo or something like that. Actually, it takes a little bit of practice. The first time I went to use this, took me a little while to kind of get the technique down. So good to have. Will strike even though it's wet. And then, yeah, this is your second method of making fire. On what I was saying about the ferro rod, let's, I don't know, let's go ahead and make a fire in the garage real quick, just to give you an idea how a ferro rod works in case you've never used one, and also kind of like what I like to do in conjunction with these little fire starting pads. Anyway, in my machete knife, I carry 2 of these small pads. These are cotton pads, like the kind that you would buy at the dollar store, CVS, Rite Aid, something like that. Usually buy a big pack of 100% cotton pads. Usually maybe $2, I think. I had some paraffin oil for lamps, and then I also have a small block of canning wax or paraffin wax. Any kind of wax will literally do. Double boiler method, melt some wax, put a little bit of extra paraffin in there, and dip these in. Throw them on to solidify and dry. Throw them on a cookie sheet covered with some aluminum foil. You can make about 50 of these things in a little more than maybe half an hour or something like that. What I would do is just take a knife, take a small section of one of these. Doesn't take very much to get things going. That's all I'm going to use, just one small section. So in theory I'd have about, I don't know, 10 fires in these 2 little pads, all going well. Just to show you what I was talking about, the beauty of these, moisture, water resistant. So I have a little bowl of water. Let's go ahead and throw it in there, slosh it around, get it nice and wet. Could easily happen if it's raining, you're out on your kayak and you flip and all your gear gets wet, something like that. So thoroughly wet. I'm going to dry it off with my shirt here for want of a better vehicle to dry it off. Then I'm just going to fray some edges. Doesn't take very much to fray these either. Don't have to feather it with a knife. You can just use your fingertips. Open this up. What I like to do is take a small green stick, go ahead and split the stick. Basically, I'm just making a match. Far easier for the style of lighting that I like to do. Now, if I'm using a little bit of the magnesium, I'm going to go ahead and take the serrated edge here and shave a little bit off right on top of it. Just go ahead and put the rod right on. There we go. Doesn't take very much. And then on a ferro rod or a ferro magnesium rod, you actually have your striking ferro rod. This one is embedded in the magnesium rod, so you can kind of see the color difference right here. You're going to want to use the sharpest edge that you can. This little thing comes with a striker, but you can use the back of a knife. Anything with a reasonably sharp, not rounded edge. So here I'm using my knife, here I'm using the striker that comes with it. You can see what's going on there. So anyway, I use this method. I find it a lot more stable. This is why I use the little twig, the little branch. You can do it as I did to illustrate, so you can draw back and hold the striker steady. Or you can press down on it just so that you're aiming all the sparks in one general direction. You can kind of press down for leverage and then bring the striker down. A little bit hard to do on the table here. There we go. You hear a little bit of crackling. What I needed to do, even this piece was a little bit too large for me to feather out. So it still had a little bit of moisture on the surface of it, but yeah, a smaller piece. And now that you have it on a little bit of a working stick, you can go ahead and take this already lit up, put it in your tinder bundle, and get an actual fire going. As you can see, this little piece that I lit on fire will actually burn for a very long time. I think when I did a whole square test just for burn time, I got almost 8 minutes, 9 minutes out of a burn for one of those sheets. So this should get you going. Just kind of burns off the wax and paraffin just like a candle wick would. And if you throw it on a stick, very easy to move around and light multiple spots of a fire. Very easy to get things going. 3 things to think about. Always have a backup, always have multiples. Simpler is better, always. And the more complex the fire starting method, the more that you're going to need to practice it ahead of time. Anything beyond a Bic lighter or getting comfortable with a ferro rod takes some practice. All of these bushcraft fire starting methods are really dependent on where you live, the conditions that you're trying to work in, whether or not it's wet or dry, whether or not it's cold. Never go out and try a new fire method as your wholly dependent fire method. Always have a backup. Always have an easy backup. So that's all for now.